It is Armani Kinua of South Africa in pole position. George House of Great Britain alongside. Jindro Svoboda for the Czech Republic in third. Fourth position is Portugal's Guilherme Morgado. In fifth, it is Ben Mccloughrey of Ireland. Sixth position for Great Britain, it is Luke Millward. For the Dominican Republic, it is Antonella Tomazello. For Guatemala, it is Matthias Glover. For the Czech Republic, it is Patrick Romov. And then it is Guatemala's Aaron Bourbano. For South Africa, Sebastian Venkov. For Portugal, it is Francisco Iglesias. For Ireland, it is Tyke Malone. For Portugal, it is Carolina Duarte. For South Africa, it is Durelle Goodman. For Portugal, again, it is Martin Gomez. Then for Guatemala, it is Fernando Wheeler Jr. For Costa Rica, it is Gabriel Sandoval Soto. For Spain, it is Yalimir Arkhipov. For the Dominican Republic, it is Valentina Helena. For Spain, it is the very talented Bermi Gomarez. For South Africa, on the back of the grid, two drivers, Antonio Isidro and Diego Bernardone. This is going to be an interesting battle as our contenders in the T4 Mini gear up for another formation lap around the course. And this time, they're all circulating, ready for the start.
And that's great to see, as we can see side by side almost there, going through the first corner, the front row runners. In fact, that looks to be Armani Kinua, who is leading the way, and then we have positions 2 and 3 sort of side by side, but they are starting to sort themselves out now. Very early on getting into their positions for the rolling start that we will have in about 2/3 of a lap's time. And that will start our 12-lap final. 12 laps of scintillating action coming up for the minis and the juniors. And then I believe 15 laps for each of the senior classes. It is sure to be an absolute festival of action and adrenaline in this, the Spanish sunshine, the height of the day here in Spain. The temperatures could not be higher. The stakes could not be higher. And the ambition of each and every one of these drivers to win could not be higher. As they come through turn number 10, where we saw 2 of the karts parked up a little more than 15 minutes ago. Obviously both of them taking the start this time round. A fantastically fair decision there by the race director to let everyone race. Obviously wouldn't be entirely fair to let a bunch of mini drivers ages 8 to 11, as we have said before, to let them drive 3 corners or 10 corners and then tell them, no, sorry, your day is over. So a fantastic decision there by the race director, and I don't think anyone would disagree with his judgment on that one. But as they come through turn number 13, getting ready to start up the T4 mini final, they have but 1 turn left to complete before the commencement of this, the creme de la creme of mini racing. As they come round the final corner, they get into the tram lines, and we are go in the minis.
This is the race we've been waiting for in T4 Mini. Up they come to the first corner. Armani Kinua gets a decent start. George House trying to come in round the outside, but Jindro Svoboda has managed to get through in a second position. And as the field work their way through the hairpin, they have all come through in good form. Looks like House has slotted into third position behind Svoboda, who I think has gone, is that Svoboda into the lead as the field tries to knit its way through in the first couple of apexes. Out in front, it is still a good battle between Armani Kinua and Jindro Svoboda. So they run through in first and second place. South Africa versus the Czech Republic. And in third place, it is Great Britain for George House in P3. And as they come through off the turn, it's going to be side by side between Svoboda and Kinua. Svoboda had a bit of a go there to try and get the lead, and it hasn't quite worked out. So Armani Kinua still leads. George House back on the inside in a second position. Great run from George House on the hairpin, and I don't think he's going to be the only one. Looks like Ben Mccloughrey of Ireland could make his run there into third. He has managed to do so. So already a big challenge forward as the top 4 drivers have broken clear up front. 12 laps of racing, and the first one is already almost completed. A bit of a wobble there for our race leader, Armani Kinua. And so suddenly, it's going to be a big dash down to the first corner as the T4 Minis are under starters' orders. George House hanging on to second position. Ben Mccloughrey still there in P3. Fourth place for Svoboda. And fifth place, it is another driver from the Czech Republic, Patrick Romov. He was one of the drivers that had the mechanical problem that brought out the red flag, and he's up to fifth position. A great charge through from Patrick Romov.
And it really is great to see George House there setting the fastest lap straight away on the pace. But Armani Kinua there with the fastest first sector of anyone in the 2 laps or the one lap even, that we have had racing so far, but still on the pace. All of the front runners there attacking into turn 10. Look at this. Oh, there's huge contact there, and out goes the 145. That is Armani Kinua from the lead of the race. He is out at turn number 10, and if you needed more drama in Tillotson T4s, here you go. Armani Kinua's day comes to a terrible, terrible premature end, and that is going to be absolute heartbreak for the young man from South Africa. Ben Mccloughrey, I believe. No, it's not Ben Mccloughrey. It is the 172. It is.
No, it is Mccloughrey.
It is Mccloughrey. Mccloughrey has somehow inherited the lead. That is absolutely brilliant from the young man who started in 5th position to get up into the lead as they flow through turn 2. And so, oh dearie me, I can't speak. I'm that excited. Svoboda there in position number 2. He's going to be looking to hunt down. A little bit of touching there with Mccloughrey as they come through turns 5 and 6 into turn 7. No dramas so far for Mccloughrey. He's going to try and manage this race now. 10 laps to go. Can he hold on? That is the question on everyone's lips, and it might be a question we get an answer to very, very quickly indeed. Up the inside there goes Svoboda on Mccloughrey, but Mccloughrey doesn't look to be done yet.
Devastating for Armani Kinua, the South African, now down and out of it, and it looks like we've got another driver off the road there in the hairpin. Couldn't quite make out who that was that's dropped off the pace. I think it's Francisco Iglesias. Francisco Iglesias, the Portuguese driver, out of this race then by the look of it. That's very unfortunate indeed for him. But Svoboda has Mccloughrey and House right in behind. Then it is Romoff. Up to 5th position, by the way, is Durelle Goodman. He has picked up the baton for South Africa, as there goes Iglesias back into the race again. But the baton has been well and truly handed over to Durelle Goodman, who has come up from 15th on the grid and is now in P5. Brilliant start for Durelle Goodman. And that's not all there is, because Luke Millward is there in P6, trying to work his way further forward, getting the fastest lap of the race. Side by side for the lead. That's Svoboda versus Mccloughrey. George House trying to hang on in front of Romoff. And still they continue to battle, but it is heartbreakers up there for the battle for the lead. Contact between Svoboda and Mccloughrey. They slide their way through. George House is going to get up the inside in a second place. Past both of them comes Patrick Romoff. Romoff into P2, House into P3, and down to P4 comes Mccloughrey. Now that it has really started to open up, as Jindra Svoboda, the young man from the Czech Republic, has taken a clear advantage up front.
This is absolutely fantastic. Svoboda is having the race of his dreams now, breaking away from the rest of the field, who are busy squabbling behind him, as we can see there. The 134 of Romoff. Fantastic job up into P2 from, let's take a look, Patrick Romoff, up 7 positions from where he started. That is absolutely exemplary from the young Czech driver. It's the Czech Republic 1-2. George House still sitting comfy in P3, but not for too long. He's up the inside, and Romoff has been bumped down 2 positions. He's been taken by both Mccloughrey and House in one corner.
So House up to 2nd position then. Ben Mccloughrey, the young man from Ireland, doing a great job in 3rd position, trying to work his way forward, but they need to stop squabbling amongst themselves, because Svoboda is now 1.4 seconds away from them, and he has got himself a comfortable advantage here. They need to start working together to get him back. They've still got 8 laps to catch him, but Svoboda has got 1.4 seconds already on George House and Ben Mccloughrey. They really need to settle their differences now and start to close up on the young man from the Czech Republic up front. So far, the gap is just 1.3 seconds, so it's pretty even as it was. They have caught up a little bit, but they need to start to unite. Ben Mccloughrey hopefully going to work with George House as they continue to charge forward. But this man up front, Jindra Svoboda, absolutely loving life in the lead of this T4 mini-final at Valencia. House, Mccloughrey, Romoff, Millward, and Durelle Goodman. 5 drivers battling away. That's another driver walking away. That is Guilherme Morgado, the Portuguese driver, Guilherme Morgado. That is so unfortunate. He was up in 4th on the grid. It's not gone his way at all, nor has it gone the way of his team. Oh, little bit of nudging there as Romoff gets right in behind Mccloughrey. There was a little bit of a bump draft there on the way to turn 6. That's not really the way it's supposed to be done. So a little bit of a moment there from Patrick Romoff as they come down to the hairpin. He's going to get his move on the inside line, and Patrick Romoff gets into 3rd place, but can he hold it on the exit? Mccloughrey's going to come through up the inside again, and there's going to be a little bit of a challenge from the carts further back as Millward and Goodman get into the battle themselves as well there. And it looks as though we've now lost Kinua, Iglesias, and Morgado. So 3 drivers out of the race altogether then, and there is another one walking away from the scene. I think that is Antonio Iseldro. Oh no, that is Morgado. walking away. So we've already had 3 drivers then come out of the race side by side. Here comes Mccloughrey trying to get back on terms once again with Romoff, and he's going to get some pressure as up the inside comes the 147 of Durelle Goodman.
And this is absolutely fantastic racing. 6 laps of scintillating action so far, as I described before. And the minis, you can always rely on them for a couple of fantastic moves. As up the inside tries the 138 machine.
3 wide.
That is Luke Millward trying his luck 3 wide through turn number 7. That is absolutely brilliant stuff. These minis taking no prisoners, leaving nothing on the line. It is millimetric margins, as we have seen all of yesterday and all of today.
So Durelle Goodman managed to pop through into 4th position as a result of all of that. Romoff is still left battling with Luke Millward, tapping the helmet there. Come on, let's work out to the guys in front. Let's get back onto the toe. So Millward and Romoff battling away for 5th and 6th positions there. 7th place for Mccloughrey in front of Antonella Tomasello. Then Tig Malone and Sebastian Venkov from Aaron Barbano and Gabriel Sandoval Soto. Then it is Martin Gomez from Carolina Duarte and Fernando Wheelo Jr. So they're going to continue their battle. 5 laps remaining. But for Svoboda, he has a 1.2 second advantage over George House. Battles all the way through this field. This is Arkimov battling away with Helena, Gamarez, Isidro and Berardone. So they are all still battling all the way through this field. It's not just the runners at the lead of the race that are having a good squabble, but everybody getting close to each other in that little mixture of drivers in the mid-pack as well. But Svoboda losing a little bit of ground to George House. House has gone on his own to try and close up on the leader. There they are. So Svoboda, House, then Mccloughrey and Goodman, Romoff and Millward. And then a little further back, you've got Mccloughrey and Antonella Tomasello, the young lady from the Dominican Republic. Still everything to play for here with just over 4 laps to go.
And this really has been an incredible start to our finals, hasn't it, ladies and gentlemen? As up the inside we have 2 cars battling. It's the 134 and the 136 of, or the 138 perhaps, of Romoff and Millward there, both going at it hammer and tong. Look at this, up the inside potentially there goes Luke Millward, but he thinks better of it, coming down into turn 1, just sits behind Patrick Romoff in front, waiting for a better opportunity, currently occupying P5 and P6 respectively as they come through the turn 3 and 4 chicane. And well, you have to say, Jake, the leaders now starting to get a bit spread out, starting to run races of their own, and you have to say Jindra Svoboda is absolutely running away with this. He is maintaining his 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 second gap perfectly. This is an expert drive from the young man from the Czech Republic, and George House, despite the pace that he's shown so far this weekend, doesn't seem to be able to catch him at a meaningful rate at this stage in the race.
So this race all comes down to patience and discipline now at the front end of the field. Meanwhile, side by side, that's Romoff and Millward having another great battle. The young man from the Czech Republic versus the Brit. We've got 2 of those battles, 1 for the lead and 1 for 5th. And then in 3rd position, we've got the Irishman Ben Mccloughrey trying to get away from Durelle Goodman. Here comes the move up the inside, and it's a lovely overtake there from Durelle Goodman. The South African gets back into 3rd position, nicely handled. Looks like Luke Millward still going side by side with Romoff as well. So those 2 having a great duel for 5th position as they continue on their way. George House sets the new fastest lap of the race, just ducks under 1:06 for the lap, trying to close up on the drivers up in front, the one driver up in front, I should say, Jindra Svoboda. So George House trying to win this race out. But obviously he's got a lot of work to do. Durelle Goodman up to 4th position, trying to make it 3rd. And in fact, Goodman has done so. So Goodman is into the podium positions now. 3rd position for Durelle Goodman. That is a climb of 12 places from his original starting place of 15th on the grid.
And you have to say the race becoming increasingly tactical now. It's all about managing gaps for Svoboda in front and George House behind. George House starting to take a little bit of margin away from Jindra Svoboda, and well, that is going to be good news for him. But Svoboda only has to hang on for 2 more laps and he will be crowned the champion. That is all he has to do. He has a 1.2 second gap, and well, you have to say he seems to have this race so far in his control, as we see George House setting the fastest lap again. with a 1 minute 5.9, slightly faster, 2/100ths of a second faster than his previous best that he set on the last lap, and he is really pushing hard to try and take this victory, as we're still looking on the live feed at the 147 and the 173. That is Durelle Goodman and Ben Mccloughrey battling for third position, line astern through turn 11, through the sweeper of 12. It is a difficult corner on the neck, as well as turn 13, particularly when you do it as many times as each of our mini, junior, senior and 165 drivers have over this weekend. Coming into the final chicane, there are the leaders following each other through. Mccloughrey still sitting behind Durelle Goodman, the South African, as they come down the start-finish straight. Mccloughrey to the inside. Can he make this stick? It's a good overtaking opportunity. Mccloughrey passes Durelle Goodman up the inside. That is a clinical move from the young Irishman. That is absolutely brilliant stuff. And he goes up into P3, and now he sets his sights on George House in front.
But this man is going to come through after a very tame performance in the final. He knew when he needed to make his overtakes. He knew he needed to time it right. And he has been ever so cool, calm and collected in this T4 mini final. It's not been easy to control the pace over the course of the weekend. He has had to work increasingly hard to put himself in the right place at the right time. He's had 2 second places and a 5th across the qualifying heats. He couldn't quite win the superheat. He ended up in 3rd place. He hasn't yet won a race over the course of this weekend, but he's about to win it in fantastic style. His first win of the weekend, Jindra Svoboda of the Czech Republic, is going to come through in amazing fashion. He will win the T4 Minis. Jindra Svoboda wins the T4 Mini category in the Tillotson T4 Nations Cup for the Czech Republic. An amazing race, and Jindra Svoboda's first win of the weekend. What a way to do it in the final.
Starting P3, you have to say that is an absolutely A-star effort from the young man from the Czech Republic. As far as I can remember, he is the first driver from the Czech Republic to win a T4 Nations Cup final, and that is an absolutely exemplary display of driving from Jindra Svoboda. From, well, not lights to flag, but certainly from the second half of the race onwards, just building that gap and maintaining it beautifully. That was a display of dominance in the second half of the race that you can only get when you have a really mature head on a driver's shoulders.
Good work from George House and Ben Mccloughrey to get their way to the podium after what's been a very tough weekend for them. And they have earned their place on the podium later this afternoon. We will crown these 3 drivers on our podium ceremony a little later, of course. But ladies and gentlemen, Jindra Svoboda of the Czech Republic comes through to take the win in the Tillotson T4 Nations Cup T4 Mini Final. George House in front of Ben Mccloughrey and Durelle Goodman, then Luke Millward and Patrick Romoff from Matthias Glover, Antonella Tomasello. Sebastian Venkov in front of Tyke Malone, Carolina Duarte, Martin Gomez and Gabriel Sandoval. Then Fernando Wheeler Jr. in front of Aaron Burbano. Jaromir Arkhipov ahead of Valentina Elena and Antonio Isidro. Then we have Diego Berdonna and Bernmith Gomareth at the end of the race there. But retirements for Guillermo Morgado, Francisco Iglesias, and very unfortunate indeed for the South African star Amani Kinyua, who was on pole position for this final. Didn't quite go his way in the end, but they've learnt a heck of a lot, these T4 Minis. And they've put up an amazing show here at Valencia, and I'm hoping, and I'm pretty sure, it's going to be the first of many they will produce.
Well, I certainly hope so. If that doesn't whet the appetite for these guys racing, then, well, I don't know what will. Many of these guys, they are coming from their home countries where perhaps the T4 grids aren't as big as we've seen here. This is, like we've said so many times, many of them, their first taste of international competition, their first taste of going abroad for a race into another area of the world, another area of the continent, or another continent altogether. And I think even those drivers who maybe didn't do as well as they thought they would, they will have learned so much about motorsport this weekend.
Yeah, it's a great demonstration of what these youngsters can learn, and that's the thing in karting. It's not just about what you win, it's about what you learn. It's about the knowledge that you soak up. These guys have been absolutely terrific in T4 Mini. They gave us a classic